I welcome you all to the inaugural session of Lalita Online Forum, envisioned to study Vaishnava text and tradition. Let's begin the program with an invocation by Mr. Rohit from the Department of Music, Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kanedi.
Gajanana Padmarkam Gajanana Mahannisham Anekadam Tam Bhaktanam Ekadantamupasmahe Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram.
Thank you. I would now like to invite Sri K. Padmanabhan from Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation to welcome the gathering.
Thank you. So on behalf of the Lalita Online Forum for Vaishnava Textual Studies, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the very first, the inaugural session of this online forum. It's a very noble endeavor started by a group of people. And I extend a very hearty welcome to all of you. A special welcome and my reverential pranams to Swami Sri Hari Prasad, the founder and managing trustee of Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation, Chennai, who will be giving the Anugrah Bhashanam during the course of this program. Again, a very warm welcome to Srimati Lakshmibai Nalapat, who has kindly consented to give the inaugural address. Of course, Srimati Lakshmibai Nalapat is not new to Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation, having participated in a few programs earlier, and I still vividly recall that she gave the inaugural talk during the Sri Vidya seminar we had about a year back. She is very passionate about whatever she chooses to talk. She is very passionate, and I still recall the talk she gave on Kali, Ma Kali. So hearty welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
A special welcome to Professor Shrikala Nair. I don't know whether it is, I think, her forum. So again, I don't know whether it's welcoming her is propriety or not. But anyhow, so always nice to reconnect with ma'am. A hearty welcome to Shrikala ma'am. And what can I say? Professor C.T. Indra, again, one of us, one of Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation. A pleasure always to listen to her, not only for her erudition and the depth of the research that goes into each and every one of her either talk or writing, whatever it is, and also the way in which she delivers it, her language. You can go on listening to her. So a very warm and hearty welcome to you, ma'am, Indra ma'am. And yeah, I welcome all the listeners, all the participants. I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting session. And I'm also sure that there'll be a lot of discussions afterwards. So with this, welcome one and all. Now I hand over the mic to the MC.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor to invite Professor Shrikala Nair, one of the initiators of this forum and the head of the Department of Philosophy, Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, for the presidential address.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you, Ramya. Respected Swamiji and Shri Sadguru, whose invisible presence makes us all motivated to take up such laudable work. Madam Lakshmi Bai, she has a royal lineage, but then she doesn't want to be addressed in that way. Professor T Indra, my good friend Sri K. Padmanabhan, and lot of senior professors whom I see here, those who belong to the clan of Vaishnava tradition, lovers of Vaishnava tradition, scholars and young aspirers. Friends, good morning to you all. Today we make a beginning to a new venture. As my friend Padmanabhan has said, that this is the inaugural session of a new platform launched by a group of academics whose enthusiasm regarding academics never die out. Probably they feel more and more to contribute towards academics at the last phase of their career. This was named Lalita Online Forum for reading, interpreting the Vaishnava Textual Tradition. I really do not know whether to call it as an academic venture or a religious venture, because it's neither of this. It's actually a fine mixture of this. In fact, this confusion itself arises, it's a progeny of modernity. Because in India, these two exercises, the academics and the religion, they have existed hand in hand. They existed no watertight compartments. As Tagore has famously said, here all disciplines flourished in joint families. So that is the habit, and we poor people who have been educated through modernity have somehow learned to raise walls in between these disciplines and get perplexed saying that, oh, see, I've been limited by these walls. It is as if, I am reminded of an analogy where you says that the spider creates the web and says that, oh, I'm caught within the web. So in fact, not only that, there existed no dividing walls between the disciplines, between the common concerns that humanity confront. In fact, the validation of every knowledge was in its fruitification in religion. How do we validate a knowledge? Once you arrive at knowledge, the validation, as you all know, if you know the basics of Indian epistemology, you know that the validation is in praxis. And regarding the ultimate validation, we will have to go to the religious field, because it is there you address the fundamental needs, the prime needs of one's self-fulfillment. So therefore, here knowledge never grew as, born out of curiosity or wonder. As you all know, I'm ashamed to say all this because I'm addressing a scholarly community where it's born out of, and as an attempt to redeem ourselves from the three types of sorrows, Adi Bhaudika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika, as you all know. So given this inherent relation between academics and religion, my initial worry, I think, stands redundant, because it seems unwarranted to classify it either as academic or as a religion. And I've been very careful in inviting people also, because those who are willing to demolish this divide alone should be participant of such exercises, which I'm sure. That is why the flyers are not commonly being shared in other platforms. So this platform is going to be is an initiative of a handful of academics who realize that the resurgence that you feel regarding Sanskrit textual tradition, I myself do in a platform in International School for Sri Shankaracharya Studies called Moola Grantha Pathaha Vyakhyacha, where we go to the original Sanskrit text and read the text and give current interpretation. That seems the only way to get back our tradition. As Acharya Shankara says that, Sampradaya Vida Shastra Visharadobi Murghavadu Upekshaniyaha. If you do not know the tradition, even if you are a very scholarly person, don't talk with him. He's going to be dangerous because he doesn't know the tradition. So having given this emphasis on the tradition, the teacher text and the tradition, that is how we have been moving forward. So to get back the tradition which has been somehow cut by the colonial rule, and we can no more lament ourselves saying that once upon a time we were colonized, and it's high time that we stop by now and get back to our own resources. And in Sanskrit textual tradition, that has been done by several people because it is a pan-Indian, appearance, and it's very easy. But with regard to the Tamil textual tradition, which is, I am not interested in going to the history, nor interested in the fight whether Tamil is earlier, Sanskrit is earlier. Anyway, we have been very reluctant historians, as you all know. So let us not indulge as late as this on history. So given that Tamil is as ancient as Sanskrit, it should also have a wider platform, and this is a humble effort to this. As you know, there are enough prabandha reading, katha kalakshepa, and all that has been done in several platforms in Tamil Nadu and the other regional places like Karnataka. It's very, very rare in Kerala, but in Karnataka and in Andhra, the two Andhras. But all of them are largely being dealt in a regional fashion, in the sense that the text is in Tamil and the interpretation also will be in Tamil. But this is a new venture where the Tamil texts are read and an English interpretation, giving meaning and interpretation. See, when I use the term interpretation, I use it responsibly. In the sense that, it's not very easy for me when I read Brahmasutra Bhashya, I can't give an interpretation of Brahmasutra Bhashya. That's not very easy. But as you are shortly going to see Professor Indra. So as she speaks, it comes out automatically. Our own responses to what you have read. And that is precisely what I mean by your interpretation. So this exercise would be to take it to a larger platform where a lot of people, even non-Tamils, can join and enjoy the text. And another thing is that here, the language and the philosophy and the religion, all of them stay together. So the linguistic peculiarities stand close to the thoughts. That is why you have it's very difficult to translate. I don't know much of Tamil, but Sanskrit, translating Sanskrit to English is very hard because it has an inherent relation, a samavaya sambandha. You call it samavaya sambandha. There are two types of sambandhas, the samyoga sambandha and the samavaya sambandha. Samyoga is an extrinsic relation. Samavaya is inherent relation. So the language and the thought inherently get related, that separating them is very hard. So this, impinges on us to address the linguistic peculiarities of the text as well. I did not get into the historicity of Divya Prabandhams because, to sell needle in goldsmith's house is not recommended. But nevertheless, Divya Prabandha, the Nalayara Divya Prabandha, as you all know, it's been said before 8th century, was by 12 alvars, were compiled by Natha Muni during 9th and 10th centuries. And they have done a great job of synthesizing, called Ubhaya Vedantins. They have synthesized the Agamic tradition and the Vedic tradition, and then brought a fine mixture of it. And they were all, very natural, quite natural exercises that has happened in philosophy. And I'm sure such exercises would continue, provided we take the thread of the tradition. And this attempt should be understood as one such. It is hard for an organizer to pick up scholars, to find people who are equally scholarly into tradition, into languages, both Tamil as well as English. But with God's grace, I think we will be able to do this. And you also know that these texts have been read in the Divya Desams, and I'm presently situated in one of the Divya Desam called Tiruvattar near Adikeshava Perumal Koil, So I wish that Lord Adikeshava, Lord Narayana, will take care of all the hardships that the organizers might confront during this journey ahead, taking this platform and bringing scholarly people to reveal the text and the tradition to the young and the old alike. I am extremely happy to have Swamiji with us. Swamiji is one with whom I have first shared my thoughts, and he was very encouraging. Without his encouragement, probably I wouldn't have ventured this feat at all. Thank you, Swamiji, for two things: to be instrumental in realizing this and also kindly agreeing to deliver the Anugraha Prabhashana. And today we have Srimati Lakshmi Bhai Nalapat, who is actively engaged in the cultural activities. Despite having had royal lineage, she wants to be reckoned as a commoner amidst us. When I've called her Tampurati, she said, no, don't call her Tampurati. There is only one Tampurati, that's goddess Lalita herself. Humility is one thing that I see in common among all the dignitaries who have assembled here. I'm indebted to her. And the first lecture, I'm so fortunate that Professor T Indra has kindly agreed. She has been a role model. I've said that in several platforms, that she has been my role model. If someone asks me how should particularly a woman academic. An academic for me is a woman academic because I'm a woman and I know only women academics. So how should a woman academic should be? I will point to her. In Narayani, Ambarisha Charita Melpatur says, Jnanam tapasta vinayanyudam eva manyam. Both jnanam and tapas. Only when it is added with humility, only then it will have recognition. That is what we see in her persona, a great scholar, a great devotee, and a great soul. We are fortunate to have her for the inaugural address. And a good start is half done, as you all know. And friends, this is in a way it's a closed forum. I request that all those who are enthusiastic in this do join once you receive the flyers, and it will be a monthly program. And please don't post the flyers in public WhatsApp groups. In case you want to recommend anybody, kindly communicate with us so that we will send a Google form to them and then they can very well join. With these few words as introductory remarks, I once again thank you all and wish you all a great textual experience. I remain Sriman Narayano Vishnu Vasudevo Abhidakshit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear ma'am, for putting out the vision and mission of this forum. Now, we are pleased to have with us today Srimati Lakshmi Bhai Nalapat to inaugurate this forum. I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am, to address this gathering.
Shri Mahakali Arpanamastu Sada Aham. Namaskaram. It is an honor indeed to inaugurate this wonderful venture. The moment Srikala Amma told me about this, I was so impressed for a variety of reasons which I will tell you. One is that when you disseminate knowledge, it is a great thing. The problem with our Sanatana Dharma is that we have so much wealth in knowledge, but that knowledge has not been spread. That is number one. So, the days of the Gurukulams unfortunately seem to be over. This net, this space is now serving the job of a Gurukulam. That is number one. And Sri Kalamma had mentioned about a so-called royal lineage for me. As far as I am concerned, there is only Sri Mata, Sri Maharajni. There is only one Maharajni, and that is her, which is the architect of the whole Prapancha Leela, as far as I am concerned. I was blessed to meet Swamiji maybe about 10 years ago, and what impressed me about him is that, now I'm going to be slightly harsh, please forgive me, that unlike most quote unquote spiritual people, he was completely non-toxic. Most spiritual leaders, unfortunately, tell us to forget our ancient mantras like the Panchaksharam or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and they insert their name and make that the new mantra. Somehow I am too old to accept that. My sister-in-law Gopika Verma and my nephew have been telling me what wonderful work the ashram has been doing. I have had the privilege to come there, and as I was telling Swamiji, the moment you walk up the stairs and you come to that room where so many pujas have been done, it is like entering into another space. It is like entering into another universe. And that is what religion is supposed to do to you. Religion is supposed to make you joyful, confident, peaceful, not strident, fighting, and showing off. Now let me tell you a little bit about Lalita and Mahavishnu. Unfortunately, in many places in Tamil Nadu, I will not mention the names, if you go to a Vishnu temple wearing vibhuti, bhasmam, they will ask you to rub it off. They will ask you, why are you here? If you wear Rudraksham, go to a Vishnu temple, there is a problem. Fortunately or unfortunately, there is no such conflict vis-a-vis Bhagavati. Bhagavati is accepted as, of course, Maheshwara Patni. She is also accepted as Padmanabha Sahodari. So she is the sister of Mahavishnu. Therefore, she is accepted. We have the Dashavatar of Mahavishnu. We also have the Dasha Mahavidya of Bhagavati. It might be a point of great interest to know that the corresponding Devata for my Mahakali is Krishna, the Purnavatar. And see, it is very easy. It's the easiest thing to create a problem, to create a conflict. The question is, why do you create the conflict? The second question is, where do you go from the conflict? From the conflict, it is always likely that you will go to a place which is not very nice. So your efforts, Amma, and the efforts of the foundation to spread this is wonderful. Unfortunately, most of us don't know traditional Tamil. We don't know Sanskrit. So when somebody is there, somebody is ready and willing to teach us, okay, it is a blessing. It is really anybody, if you are exposed to even the smallest kani of knowledge, you are blessed. You are blessed by Saraswati. Because only with her grace will you get access to Vidya. And Vidya, what is Vidya? You have Vidya, the root of Vidya is Vid. Okay? Now, in Sanskrit, you always invert words, right? It is also Div. Div means to give pleasure. Again, this might be quite controversial, but one of the greatest knowledge banks of India, traditional India, were the Devdasis. Devadasis. Div was the root. They who gave pleasure. Pleasure does not mean physical pleasure alone. The pleasure of knowledge, once, I'm sure Sri Kalamma will agree with it, once that bug is bitten you, then there is no getting off. Then you become a lifetime addict to knowledge. You want to learn more and more. You become greedy. That is one greed where that greed will not harm anybody. It will, in fact, there is a poem about Vidya in my mother tongue, Malayalam. It goes, Vittamendinu, I'll tell you the poem and then translate it. Vittamendinu martenu, Vidya kaivashamakugil, Vennayundangil narunai verittu karidenamo, Kondu pogilla chorenmar, Kodukkum thorumeridum. This line is wonderful. It says, why do you need wealth? Why do you need wealth when Vidya is with you? Okay? And Vennayundangil narunai. If you have butter, why are you crying that you don't have ghee? Because that's there. And Kundu pogilla chorenmar, Koduttum thorumeridum, which means no thief will take this wealth away from you. Kodukkum thorumeridum, which means eridum, which means the more you give, the more you gain. That is the greatest benefit of Vidya. Okay? And this wonderful, wonderful venture, I hope to be part of your group, Amma, because I really want to learn, okay? And this is also a place where you will, I don't know whether, I'm sure it is blessings from Narayana or, as far as I am concerned, it is the same thing. We are the fools. We are limited. We are limited in our bodies. Therefore, we stupidly, arrogantly, it is our ego which tries to limit the Parabrahman. It is beyond concepts. When I call that Parabrahman Kali, I am personalizing it. It is my Kali. Okay? Now I will end with a small shloka. Krishna, when he was a baby, Yashoda told him, go and sit, go and say your prayers. So, like all babies, children, Krishna was not very keen on praying. So he went and sat in a corner. And he came back after 2 minutes. So Yashoda said, have you finished your prayers? So he said, yes. So Yashoda said, in 2 minutes, who have you prayed to? And then Krishna comes up with this beautiful shloka. Wherever I speak, I repeat this because this is a shloka which every Indian should learn. Krishna said, Brahmanam, Shulapanim, Harim, Amarapatim, Bhaskaram, Skandamindum, Vikram, Vannim, Tanesham, Varunamanila Varyan, Panindran, Devan, Devi, Sametan, Griha, Muni, Pitr, Go, Pakshi, Nakshatra, Yakshan, Trilokyastan, Samastan, Sakala Parivardhan, Sarvabhute Namami. Which means Brahma, Shulapani, Shiva, Harim, Vishnu, Amarapatim, Indra, Bhaskaram, Sun, Skandam, Muruga, Bhaskaram, Skandam, Indum, Moon, Vikram, Ganesha, Vannim, Fire, Vikram, Vannim, Dhanesham, Kubera, Varunam, Anilam, Aryan. So when you say it, it becomes Varunam, Anilam, Aryan. As all the songs, I don't know Sanskrit, there are super experts here who will ratify that. Water, wind, and Aryamava, that is the head of the Pitras, Panindran, snakes. Devan, Devi, Sametan, all the Devans with their spouses. Devan, Devi, Sametan. Griha, Navagriha, Muni, sages. Griha, Muni, Pitra, ancestors. Go, Pashu. Pashu means not cow, literally, it means Pashu as Shiva as Pashupati. Griha, Muni, Pitra, go. Pakshi, birds. Nakshatra, stars. Yakshan, all the forest spirits. Trilokyastan, Samastan, every force that there is. Sakala Parivratan, in whatever changes. Sarva Bhute Namami. My prayer is that all these deities, all these Shaktis who are in us, who are around us, bless all of you. May I wish this venture a great, great, great success. May people benefit from that. May you benefit from teaching. May we learn from, may we benefit from learning. My pranams to all of you. Shri Mahakali Arpanamastu Sada Aham. Namaste.
Thank you very much, dear ma'am, for your words of encouragement and also for sharing your insights with us. Thank you very much. With utmost respect, may I now invite Swami Sri Hari Prasad, the founder of Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation, for the Anugraha Pranam.
Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. I'm very happy that Shrikala's dream has come true. She's been wanting to start this for a long time. And she's married into a family from Thiruvattar and so very devoted to Thiruvattar Perumal, and which is one of the Divya Deshams. And our own Lakshmi Devi, who has inaugurated us, our forum today, she's also very devoted to Thiruvattar Perumal, and she's done human service there and invigorating that temple. And I'm very, very happy that this is an online forum, because it's an online forum. People from different places are able to join. In an ordinary seminar, we have the pleasure of seeing each other, talking with each other, exchanging notes, all this is there. But unfortunately, only those who can come there can attend it. While this online forum, even though it is killing the attendance for offline seminars, online forum brings together people from different places. So from Delhi, from Cochin, from Trivandrum, from Kaladi, from so many places, from Chennai, we are hearing so much. And I hope with Sadhguru Ma's blessings this will grow and grow, and that we are having a talk on Amalanaadippiraan of Tirupan Alvar as the first talk. It's a very, very good augury, because it shows about how all injustices can be crossed over by the grace of Bhagavan, and how he is always there to look after the interests of people who are suffering. And it is also this majestic hymn, just 10 verses, so very, very nice and so very inspiring. And for me, the most interesting part is that he sees him as Vennai Undavayan, the Butter Krishna. So may that Butter Krishna give us lots of butter and make us happy. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu, Shri Sadguru Arpanamastu, Narayana, Narayana, Narayana.
Thank you, Swamiji. Now let's move to the first lecture of this Lalita Online Forum by Professor T Indra, the former professor and head department of English, University of Madras. She will speak to us on an initiation into Amalanaadippiraan, Bhakti and Doctrine. Over to you, Professor.
Has she got disconnected?
No, I've switched on now. Unmuted. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah, very well.
Okay.
Yeah, very well.
Very audible, very audible.
Pranams to Sri Sadguru. Pranams to Sri Hari Prasad Swamiji. Professor Shrikala Nair, the indefatigable academic and philosopher and great human being, founder, organizer of this great forum, which bridges the divide between religion and philosophy. That has been, I should say, the source of anxiety for many people. And I am fortunate that I was open to my teacher, Professor Sethuraman. I offer my obeisance to him at this moment, who helped me just to see how there is a kind of a space, interspace between religion and philosophy. And you can move in without losing your sight or insight or whatever it is. So Professor Shrikala Nair, for organizing this series, revered Madam Lakshmibai Nalapa, and all the people who have assembled here. I am grateful to Professor Srikala for giving me, I should say, an opportunity to speak on Tirupanavar's Amalanaadippiraan. She has given me, I should say, an opportunity to evolve and realize my aspiration in a concrete, purposive manner. I come from a Vaishnava family, Vadakala Vaishnava family, and there are different opinions about each sect. We are not here to go into that. Fortunately, my soul is open thanks to my exposure to Sri Aurobindo and the mother. I pay my obeisance to them. Professor Srikala, Madam, I thank you for accepting my ignorance and also giving me an opportunity to just keep my aspiration steady as a flame, as the mother puts it. I must say, Swamiji, I owe my acquaintance with this particular pasaram. Let me put it very clear to you. This is the only pasaram that I know. I never learned anything. It was a very different kind of household. And this is the only pasaram I know. And I've been trying to read it for the last 10 years in a different context. I'll talk about it when there is time for discussion. I owe my acquaintance with this pasaram entirely to my cousin's wife, Uma Rajgopal. Swamiji knows her very well. She put real yeoman service in the making of the book Vedanta Deshika, which Swamiji brought out on the 750th year of Swami Deshikal. Uma Rajgopal, who holds an MA in Vaishnavism in Madras University, and what is more, she has taken Kalakshepam lesson over a decade and more with Sri Mannargudi Rajgopalachari Swami, most revered and erudite, much respected by Vaishnavas and other scholars. And she has translated. I was quite surprised. Academics ventured into it very reluctantly, but she has translated an important hagiographic work, Swamiji, on Adiseshan, which my aunt wrote in Tamil, okay, Vachalachari. And Vachalachari came and asked me, I said, I cannot do it. I just showed my, finger at Uma, and Uma has translated it into English. And recently, she has translated a hagiographic account of one of the Srirangam Andavars, you know. It was very tough reading, but she has done it just for its own sake. And together, we published an article on Ramanuja for the Brahmanyana volume, which Professor Narayan Kuti and Dr. Radha Raghunathan edited to mark the 1000th year of Ramanuja from Theosophical Society, Brahma Vidya, millennial edition. So, I pray to Lord Narayana to bless Uma, who has educated me on this poem. Ever since I approached her, I told her, I just don't want to only read it as a kind of a namavali or some kind of a religious exercise and so on, but teach me how to look at it, how to interpret it. What are its doctrines? What is the saving aspect? Why is it an Ujjivana mantra? So I approached her, and she has written endless notes in the last 8, 9, 10 years for me, glossaries, explanations, not to get them published, but to help an aspirant. For me, she has written down doctrinal aspects of the poem a couple of times in the last few months when her husband was very, very unwell. She recently lost her niece also. I didn't send her this invitation. So this is a time when I acknowledge how much I owe to Uma. And whatever lacunae are there, whatever errors are there, glaring mistakes in my construing of the hymn, Vaishnavites and others, please forgive me. It is owing to my ignorance and not what Uma taught me. Secondly, I also wish to acknowledge Dr. V.K.N.S. Raghavan's edition, excellent edition of this particular poem, which she brought out long years back. So comprehensive and thorough. I wish it were republished again. I dare not just invite him because he is the one who just gave us the entire context. I also draw your attention to Dr. U. Venkatesh, excellent public speaker, popular person, soaked in Vaishnavism and philosophy, trained by Karunakaracharya Swami, and so on. On YouTube, he has given a very great, entertaining kind of commentary, like a cricket match being commented upon. If you have the time, you should just listen to that. So let me just tell you that I am absolutely starting from ground zero. The structure of my talk. This structure was evolved nearly 10 years ago when I read Shankara's Manisha Panchakam, the context, and then this poem. I'll speak about it, or I'll at least write when I'm very confident that something can be produced on this. So in the structure, I begin with the introduction to the hagiographic background. Swamiji mentioned it in a veiled manner of Tirupannalvar and his Amalanaadippiraan. And then the text of Amalanaadippiraan, which I have photocopied here. Its place in Nalayaram, I'm not a scholar and therefore I'll be very brief on that. Its uniqueness vis-a-vis other Alvar's hymns, its doctrinal dimension and value. That was of paramount interest to me. Hagiography. I've been interested in this ever since I started reading about Ramanuja and the controversial hagiographies and so on, and contemporary historians and so on. So that, and also before that, see, Nandan, I come from Chidambaram, the story of Nandan and so on, hagiography. The first one, 1A, is Guru Parampare Prabhavam Arayara Padi. It's called Guru Parampare Prabhavam 6000, pages 60 to 68. Narrates Tirupannalvar's story following the account of the story of one Urayur Nachiyar, who was none other than Sri Lakshmi, who married Lord Ranganatha at Srirangam temple. This kind of thing happens in hagiographic narratives. You cross over from the human to the supernatural or divine. The reason for this arrangement could be that both Tirupannalvar and Urayur Nachiyar were so close in their consciousness to the Lord. And that is what ultimately Vaishnavism is all about. It hardly mattered to the Lord that the lady was of royal lineage and the man was from the lowliest of low in the society. In the Vaishnava world, this is the doctrine I learnt, and milieu, and may I add in theology, it made no difference, and the Lord accepted their devotion. Guru Parampare Prabhavam says that Tirupannalvar was born in the lowest of lowly varna or caste, indicated by the phrase, I quote from Guru Parampare Prabhavam, Kulam Thaanda Sadhigal Nalilum Idinde. Kulam Thaanda Sadhigal Nalilum Idinde. The hagiography identifies Tirupannalvar as belonging to the Panchama caste, the fifth caste. But the same sentence says, Brahmana Velvi Bhagavadare Pole Srivatsa Amsa Saramai Tirupannalvar Avadarittar. That is, Guru Parampare Prabhavam, which is supposed to be a traditional chronicle, it regards Tirupannalvar as Bhagavata Avatara, irrespective of his caste, and also cites Divya Suri Charitam, about which there is a continuous program going on in TTD every day in the morning. Divya Suri Charitam, which is in Sanskrit, I only know the Tamil aspect, which is another hagiographic chronicle, which highlights the sattvic nature, Kevala Sattva Gunam. I learned to appreciate it for living with my mother after my father's sudden death for nearly 30 years. What does Sattva do to you? How can it take you towards beatitude? Divya Suri Charitam also says that Tirupannalvar was like Nitya Suri. This is a very special term in Vaishnava parlance and probably in theology also, who is a Vaishnava. Nitya Suris are Vaishnavas who are there. They are not necessarily Vaishnavas, but they are in the Vaishnava world view. They are ever present in front of Lord in Vaikuntham. Therefore, Nitya Suris in Vaishnava world view are blessed souls who enjoy the company of the Lord Vishnu uninterrupted. Actually, if you want to make a parallel to Milton's Paradise Lost, they are like archangels in Christian. They're actually, archangel is the word translation that V.K.N.S. Raghavan uses. Now, it's also mentioned that Tirupannalvar had a mastery of Gana Vidya, that is the art of music, which is the most important for our purpose today. Because he saw the Lord, he sang the 10 stanzas, and everything is so beautifully, poetically done. A Nitya Suri is also outside of the 4 varnas. Therefore, Tirupannalvar is also outside of the 4 divisions. Now, coming to the particular hagiographic incident, which is a kind of a stimulant for this poem, the making of this poem. there is another kind of hagiography by P. Sri, Alvargal Varalaru. This is written by a person who is well-researched, analytical, historically researched. The whole series called Life of Alvars, first edition 2002, Alliance, Chennai. He traces the history of the clan of Panalvar in the second volume, volume 2. He sketches the rise and fall of Panar. Who are the Panars? Panars are ancient Tamil society. They are singers, minstrels, Panar. And down the ages in ancient society, they have been prosperous. How they were patronized by kings and rulers, regional rulers, for their music and singing. So, they were showered with wealth and jewels and so on. He points out, that is, P.C. points out, how they were highly reputed in society. But they gradually lost their social prestige and wealth too. So, beware of that. Nala Dia talks about it. Beware of how you accumulate and then you lose. But they lost their prestige and wealth too, I have found out, by a combination of itinerant life. That is, if you are seeking patronage, you move from one region to another, you go from one king to another. So you don't belong to a kind of settled, property-oriented person. Your aspiration is always to sing and praise the Lord. And therefore, they led an itinerant life. That is one factor. Another is, there is lack of knowledge of any other profession. They were only singers, farmers, and therefore they did not develop any other skill. And society changed, and therefore they slowly lost, you see, their value, because nobody wanted to listen to them. Now today, central government asks you to implement what is called skilling program, because a goldsmith's son need not be a goldsmith, okay? A carpenter's son need not be a carpenter, or may not want to be a carpenter. And therefore, you must develop different kinds of skilling. Unfortunately, these partners, because of the lack of knowledge of any other profession, they just declined. It led to the decline of their economic status. They were very prosperous, much sought after, and eventually to the degeneration of their social standing. It's a great lesson for many of us. There were other tales too, like Tirpanalvars, such as Nam Paduvan. This is mentioned in page 15 of the hagiography. P. Sri, because he is not only hagiographer, but he is also a social historian, he mentions how untouchability developed, resulting in ostracization of Tirpanalvar and Nandanar. I have written about Nandanar while translating Indra Parsadi's Nandan Kadai. I read a lot about the background, context, and so on. Oxford University Press published it in 2003. That was the first attempt to know hagiography, the double side of the hagiography, pages 154-55. P. Sri underscores a point that unlike in the case of Nandan, Tirpanalvar was bodily embraced by Lord at Srirangam temple. Coming from Chidambaram, there is always a kind of great pain in my heart, because Nandan was asked to enter into the fire, okay, fire of purification, fire ordeal like Sita. And then he was embraced. That's the way hagiography goes. But as a contrast, this is one thing that made me also go repeatedly to Amalanaadippiraan. The Lord embraces him bodily, asks him to be brought over, and then he embraces him within the temple premise, in the Garbhagriha. Because the Lord recognized, we come now to a very important idea in Vaishnavism, the Lord recognized only the clan of Tondar. Tondar Kulam is the word P. Sri again and again uses that. Who is Tondar? Seshan, I'll come to that Seshan later. They are devout servitors. They are not servants. Doesn't matter. They are servitors. That is why Tondar Kulam is the linchpin of both Vaishnavism as a religion and as a philosophy. It is because of that Prabhati also gets great importance. Tondar Kulam is a special caste beyond the four Varnas in the Vaishnava thought. Chapter 14 of the book talks about that. Tirpanalvar involving Lokasaranga Muni is the incident that first drew my attention and interest in this context. Lokasaranga Muni incident drives home further that Bhagavan is a Bhakta Vatsalan. Bhagavan is Bhakta Paradina. He alleviates our sufferings, and he is so fond of us, and with overwhelming Vatsalyam towards his Bhakta. So, Professor Venkatakrishnan in his early morning discourses, you see, gives etymological meanings of most of these words. So at 5:50, I get up and listen to him and write down and immediately write to him. Vatsalyam. Tirupannalvar was born in a low-caste family, as I said. Hence, he would not step into the temple on his own. He would stand on the river bank. The river is Kaveri, though that's not mentioned there. And absorbed in singing of the Lord's glory, his names, his beauty, his qualities, with single-minded devotion. There is no distraction. This would drive him into the edge of ecstasy. Therefore, he would forget himself. So on a particular day, when Lokasarang Muni, who is the chief priest, all of you are aware of it, but I just recount it here, he came to the river to collect water, pure water, for the daily ablution of the Lord. And Sarang Muni saw that this man was standing there singing, lost in ecstasy. And so he had to somehow draw his attention. So he took a stone in order to get the attention of Tirupannalvar and threw it at him. There is one more version of this. When the stone was thrown, it hit Tirupannalvar and the temple started bleeding. The next moment, inside the sanctum sanctorum, that's how hagiography describes it, you see. You believe it when you want to reach that kind of state. The large temple also started bleeding. So you can see this act did not get the approval of Bhagwan. And in another hagiographic account, it is said that Mahalakshmi, Sri Mahalakshmi, the consort of Ranganatha or Narayana, says, how can you just keep our devotee outside of the temple? He must be brought in. Now you can see the conspiracy is to just bless the soul between the husband and the divine husband, the Divya Dampati. That is, Professor Mishra always uses the word Divya Dampati to bless the devotee. So Perumal cannot tolerate any injustice done to the Bhakta. This is a cardinal idea in Vaishnavism. The Lord wishes to reward Tirupannalvar for his steadfast devotion and hence commanded Lokasaranga Muni to bring the Alvar on his shoulder into the temple precincts. When God decides to shower his grace, he cannot be impeded. No caste, no social association can impede it. The Lord's command and work was instantly fulfilled. This is what Uma repeatedly told me. Lokasaranga Muni does not protest. Actually, he is disturbed that he just hurt this man. And he listens to the Lord and he immediately fulfilled the command of the Lord by offering to carry him on his shoulder because Tirupannalvar doesn't want to walk the premises with his feet. And Lokasaranga Muni says, all right, you come up on my shoulder. That is why Muni Vahana Bhogam. Swami Deshikant wrote that Manipuravala commentary on this, Muni Vahana Bhogam. Muni became the mount. Also, the Lord decided to give and display his splendor of the Archa Tirumeni. That's a key idea. I'll come to that when we do the poem. Archa Tirumeni to the Muni and also Alvar Sais feasted on the glorious vision. Alvar followed two kinds of dharma. One, his own dharma as a caste he didn't want to violate, as Tirukatchi Muni did not want to violate the caste prohibition. And he also followed Bhagavata Paratantaryam. That is, he listened to the request of Lokasaranga Muni, who was a Uttama Bhagavata. So this is by way of a background. I titled my presentation as an initiation into Amalanaadippiraan by Tirupannalvar, Bhakti and Doctrine. The initiation, Madam Srikala, is for me because first time I entered into it. About the text and genre and order, it is an example of Prabandham literature. That is literature which captures Bhagwan himself and his Swarupam. Tirupannalvar was a 12th century Alvar. That's what Pishri establishes. And Amalanaadippiraan is 17th in the chronological order of the canon, 24 which go to make the Nalayara Divya Prabandham, the 4,000. Canonical work, as we say in canon. The canon is formed, as we say in English literature. Amalanaadippiraan contains just 10 verses, as Swamiji said. Yet it offers a very detailed description of every aspect of Lord Ranganatha in Srirangam temple. His feet, his garments, chest, etc. This poem contains, as I said, just 10 verses, a decade, as we say, D-E-C-A-D. It is neither too long, nor tiresome, nor too short, nor cryptic. Therefore, Vedanta Deshika was so impressed by this production that he chose to write a commentary on this work. As I mentioned earlier, Munivahana Bhogam. And Uma tells me, Swamiji, that Swami Vedanta Deshika has not chosen to write commentary on any of the other 23 pasurams. Deshika, in his commentary, draws particular attention to a couple of facts. One, the Alvar's name as an author does not find mention anywhere in the work. Next, the same aspects, points are mentioned by Vyakhyana Chakravarti, Sri Periyavachan Pillai. Everybody reveres him in Vaishnava tradition. Tiruppan Alvar sang 9 songs as he was carried on Lokasaranga Muni's shoulders and the 10th Pasuram at the Sanctum Sanctorum. This is one view. That as he entered, he was composing the poem. Poems, the stanzas were coming out in the 10th stanza. Kanda Kandgal, Verediyam Kanade. That the 10th stanza in Sanctum Sanctorum. There are others who hold the opinion that the Alvar kept his eyes closed and opened them only in the actual Garbhagraha, the sanctum, and sang all the 10 songs there. Be that as it may, the description and the process of the progress towards beatitude is the core of the hymn. Beatification, beatitude. A special feature of this Prabandham is the description of the beautiful Archa Tirumeni of the Lord. What is Archa Tirumeni? The sacred image consecrated in the temple. From Tiruvadi to Tirumudi. That poem it starts from the Tiruvadi, holy feet, to Tirumudi, the crown, Padadikesam we say in another context. His Saundaryam, the Lord's Saundaryam, loveliness and beauty, and his Lavanyam, his elegance and grace. I came across a word, Swamiji, pulchritude, P-U-L-C-H-R-I-T-U-D-E, pulchritude. I hope that in some way conveys the idea of Lavanyam. Hence, it's a very lofty Prabandham. Comparison with other Alvars and the Sanctum. Periyalvar forgets such a description in his eagerness to call other people to join him in the singing Pallandu. These are problems with religious literature and poetry. Tirumale, 45 songs of Thandaradi Podiyalvar, sings more about his own shortcomings and feelings of dejection. Madhurakavi Alvar sang only about his Guru Nammalvar. All other Alvars composed long Prabandhams. Here in the case of Tiruppan Alvar, these 10 pasurams are crisp, short and sweet. He sang only about Perumal, the Lord, and the glory of the Archa Tirumeni. So Archa Tirumeni is very important in Vaishnavism. I take it that it's very important for other Hindu religious groups also. Archa Tirumeni becomes the object of adoration, worship. It facilitates concentrated worship. In Sri Pidam, every day there is a kind of Archa worship in the puja. Why is it important? Because majority of the people cannot just contemplate on the divine in an abstract manner. And they need a kind of a concrete thing to focus upon. So Archa Tirumeni is a very important aspect of this poem. What Tiruppan Alvar presents is the essence of Prapatti, of Vaishnava faith and Visishadvaita doctrine of the dimension of Saguna Upasana. Amalanaadippiraan is a very special, has a special position among the 4,000 for several reasons. It is pointed out that the first 3 pasurams, which begin with the Tamil letters A, U, Ma, they constitute a mystic word, Om, Om as known as Pranava. Swami Desikan mentions this in his commentary and declares that the esoteric significance of the 3 chief mantras in Vaishnavism called the Rahasya Traya, Ashtakshari, Dvayam, and Charma Sloka are included in this Prabandham. That is why Swami Desika cherishes it. So the esoteric value of this poem. When we consider the opening words of the first 3 verses, Amalan, Uvanda, Mandi, we get the meaning, the monkey that the Lord liked very much. Or else the monkey that greatly loved the Lord. You would have guessed by now. It's a veiled reference to great Bhakta Hanuman, who had an unflinching devotion to Rama. Tirupannalvar wishes to suggest that if we have Hanuman's, what shall I say, way of service to please the Lord, we can be elevated. The text, Dr. Venkatesh calls it, it's an exemplar of Manasa Sakshatkaram. You could not see your Lord, but you had inwardly perceived him, appreciated his form. You have become part of that form. That is why Pashuram 1 finds several terms used to describe the Lord. I'll just go through them. Amalan is called Amalan. That is, Lord Vishnu is blemishless, ever pure. Dr. Raghavan says, the hymn begins with the term Amalan, as in Vishnu Sahasranam. In his commentary, Swamiji, he draws parallel to Vishnu Sahasranamam and the namas which are connected to the concept here or the notion here. So Vishnu Sahasranamam serial 148, it just invokes it. He's called Adippiraan. That is, he's the primal being, the foremost God and great benefactor. There are two words there. See, he's the primordial cause and he's Jagat Karana, Adippiraan. Adi, Dr. Venkatesh tells us, he glosses on these terms. That is, Amalan means he is pure and makes us pure. That is why it's very important, sociologically speaking. He is pure and he makes us pure. And everyone who does not want to be pure, okay, we take in a lot of kalmisham and malam, but still we want to be pure. So, in Bhagavat Vishyam, there cannot be any malam. This is the doctrinal aspect. In Bhagavat Vishyam, there cannot be any blemish or impurity. So, Amalan. And in terms of the bio note, we understood the temple's purity was not sullied by Tirupannalvar's entry, but the Lord's purity came to Tirupannalvar. Commenting on Adi, Dr. Venkatesh says, Adi means desired by all. So one more meaning is desired by all. He's everybody's favorite. Piran is the one who rendered great help. So Piran is Upakaran. The Lord made us understand his great. He has become a great Upakaran. So we are impure. We have become pure by his compassion. He shines pure. Amalan, Adippiraan, Vimalan. Next, Vimalan. Vimalan is full of tejas. The faultless one, the poet implies, he made me Dasan of Dasan, Adiyarku Adiyan, Bhaktarhalku Bhaktan, is Bhakta of Bhaktas. And Dehame Atma என்று எல்லோராலும் வெறுக்கப்பட்ட என்னை பக்தர்களுக்கு பக்தராக்கினான். That is, those who regarded the body as the soul and ostracized me, because he doesn't mention it, but it's implied. But he made me his bhakta. He is bright without a blemish, Vimalan. Vindavar Kon. He is the Lord of the celestials. Vindavar or celestials. Vindavar Kon. It's not English Kon, C-O-N-E, but it is Tamil Kon, classical word. Kon is king. So, he's such a lofty person, and yet he called me and accepted me. So, the king, the Lord, he comes down from Paramapadam to Srirangam. Now we come to some Puranic and hagiographic details, you know, how the Lord descended from Paramapadam into Tirumala first, Venkatam, okay, and then moves to Srirangam. Tirupannalvar saw first the feet. So most important thing is we make an entry point through vision of the Tirukkamala Padam. Uma always uses the phrase Tirukkamala Padam. So, Nimalan, Kutramatravan, he gives without asking. His anugraham has no ego whatsoever. One as somebody who is a doer. He is mercy incarnate, and he is Ninmalan. He is not egoistically concerned that he is the savior. He does not regard what he has done to us as Udavi, Upakaram. Therefore, from Paramapadam he is there, but he is also there on the earth. So the Lord's dual existence is emphasized. Dr. Raghavan sums it up neatly when he says, the Lord, who is the Lord of Nityasuris, as I said, celestials, eternal archangels, has taken his abode at Venkata Hill, that is Tirupalai, Tirupati, surrounded by fragrant groves. He is the immaculate Lord. He uses Christian terms, Immaculate Lord, and is ever pure, sacred God. I look at him, the overlord of the supreme, justful heaven. One more idea is brought in here. He is the overlord of the justful heaven. I'll come to that presently. And the divine God in Sri Rangam. And his lotus feet, this is the kernel point. His lotus feet entered and became merged with my eyes. Now the Tatparyam of the first Pashuram. The first Pashuram enjoys the sacred feet, Tirukamala Padam of Ranganatha. The word Thiru, Swamiji often says this, connotes the feet, that is feet that are sacred, beautifully soft, lovely. Thiru also connotes Sri Lakshmi. The feet are like lotuses caressed by Mahalakshmi. These 10 Pasurams, as I said, have several epithets which all go to signify absence of malam, amalan, vimalan, nimalan, ninmalan, etc. Blemish or impurity is absolutely absent. I am reminded of the notion of pure consciousness in Advaita Vedanta. Vimalan suggests total faultlessness and that kind of purity. And that purity consists in making way for servitude. Not only you serve the Lord, you also serve the devotees of the Lord. Tirupanalvar obeyed the behest of Lokasaranga Muni and rode on his shoulders. Okay, he obeyed it instantly. Whenever Kon, he is the overlord of the celestials. Amara Prabhu, Vishnu Sahasranamam, Professor V.K.N.S. Raghavan mentions the parallel. He is the Lord of the Nityasuris, the Lord residing in Vaikuntham, where righteousness alone reigns supreme, so there cannot be any injustice. This point must be understood. In Vaishnava theology, there is the Andan, that is the Lord. Rest of us are all Adime. Therefore, that is a kind of a basis, secret for the just relationship. Nobody else is supreme. Like Meera, who asked Goswami, you see, Swami, who is there male in this world? All of us are females. Lord Krishna alone is the male. So, the just heaven. Periyar Venkatam. Venkatam is said to be a stepping stone. So, the God comes down from Paramapadam to Venkatam, and then he lands himself in Sri Rangam. So, there's kind of a journey. So, Lord Ranganatha, who reclines on the serpent couch Adisesha and Sri Rangam, is the same Srinivasa who had stood in the north at the great Venkata hill where monkeys jump from tree to tree. Lord Srinivasa stood there for the sake of the gods who came down to worship him, Sandhiseya. But my inner soul, my heart rests on the twilight-colored garment of the Lord and on his beautiful navel. Now we come to another part. That is from the feet to the garment and from the garment to the navel. You are surprised because there is, what is a blemish that is negative by the term nimalan? Unapproachability. The Lord is always marked by saulabhyam. His kalyana gunam is saulabhyam. Ninmalan, you see, as I mentioned again, there is a parallel to Vishnu Sahasranamam Avijñata, and then he waits for us to approach him. He just forgets and forgives all our sins. He is Nidhivanan. So, we come to an important Vaishnava doctrine. We are all Seshans. The Lord alone is Paramaseshi. Seshi is the Lord. Seshan is all of us. By holding on to the Seshi's lotus feet, we can get elevated. Therefore, he cannot push us off. Hence, Tirupanalvar in the first Pasuram dwells on the Tirukamala Padam. So, the Lord's feet. Stanza 2 focuses on the Lord's raiments, reddish silk garment worn around at the waist, which makes Tirupanalvar's mind leap in joy, looking at its beauty. And the mind is riveted there. Lord Ranganatha measured the whole earth and heaven when he incarnated as Thiruvikrama. He is Uttaman because he had the Tiruvullam to go begging from Mahabali. Uvanda Ullathinai, Ulagam Valanda Andamura. And then he has a Nivanda Neelmudi. That is, he wears a very long crown. It is symbolic of his supremacy, his sovereignty, his paratvam. And then, as in hagiography, as in mystical poems, there is reference to Ramavatara. So there is Trivikramavatara, there is Ramavatara, Rama's sharp and piercing arrows destroyed the demons who came to fight with him. So, what's the doctrinal idea? The Lord is Purushottama. Bhagavan's Gunam is to just admire the Bhakta. This is his Preeti for the Bhaktas. Stanza 3, Mandipai. Lord Ranganatha reclines on Adisesha, Arangattaravanayan, the serpent couch. It's the same Lord Vishnu who, as Srinivasa, stood in the great Venkata hill where monkeys jump about and bees sing and swarm. He stood there for the sake of the celestials. Amararku Ariyavan, Namakku Eliyavan. So, to appreciate his simplicity, he comes down with his elimai to greet and fill up the mind and heart of Tirupannalvar. So, in this pasuram, Tirupannalvar's heart rests on the twilight garment. The line goes, Andipol nirathu aadayum, adan mel ayanai padaitha oru elil. What is this padaipu? The navel, you see? And I just come to that. The navel is the Navi, okay? And Lord's navel remains beautiful even after creating Brahma. In human nature or human form, morphologically speaking, after delivering a child, there is morphological change. Somehow there is distortion of the body. On the other hand, the Lord is creating, okay? But his navel remains, the old navel remains beautiful. That is why Andipol nirathu aadayum adal mel ayanai padithu or edil. That edil is a reference to the navel, which gave birth to iron. Meenakshi asked me, what is iron? Kindly explain. I said, iron is Brahma. Tamil word iron is Brahma. So, the doctrine is, now comes the important word, adiyen. This word adiyen is used 3 times in the poem. Stanza 3, stanza 5, stanza 6. Tirupannalvar uses the word adiyen for the first time in the stanza. Why? Because no more nan or yen, I or mine. Nan becomes adiyen, I becomes my humble self. The doctrine aspect of it is dasutvam of Jivan is very important. Always to be remembered. He is the overlord, he is the Seshi. Our servitude to the Lord, we are Seshan. That is why Hari is Swamitvam, Atma is Dasatvam. Secondly, Arangat Tamman of the first 2 verses becomes Arangat Aravanayan. The Lord in Srirangam and many temples, you see, he's in a Shayana pose. Okay? Recumbent Lord. And it's convenient for him to start the Shrishti, the scholars say, because the lotus can go upward and Brahma is there created. It may look humorous, but it is something. Humor is also part of Krishna and Lord Narayana's lore. So, in Sayanam, the Lord lotus can go upward and start the Shrishti. And Shrishti is creating, first of all, Brahma. So, in terms of the Tatparyam, the monkeys jumping about in Venkatam, they represent man's wandering mind, jumping about in pursuit of material objects, eternal restlessness. But Tirupannalvar says, my mind, which was engaged in worldly pleasures, now is focused on one place, which is the navel. Some Christian told me, oh, navel gazing in Hinduism. At that time, I did not quite understand. So I could not, he did his PhD with me. He was an IAS officer. But later, I understood what is navel gazing. Okay, it is not for Aishwarya Rai or anybody. It is for, pardon me for a banal example, it is for some other purpose. So even Brahma, this is another humorous point here, even Pankajanabi, the navel is called Pankajanaba. How many songs describe that? How many slokas describe that? You know, MLV has sung about that. So even Brahma, who emerged from the Lord's Nabi, he wanted to secure only his position. Okay. Therefore, he did not care to secure worship of the Lord. Look at the difference between Brahma and Tirupannalvar. Therefore, the doctrine part is very interesting. There's much humor also there. The reference to Arangathu Aravanayan. Aravu in Tamil, I think in Malayalam also, is serpent. Am I right? Aravu is serpent. Aravu. You can hear me?
No, ma'am. Aravu doesn't mean serpent.
Okay, in Tamil it is serpent. Okay, so it refers to Adiseshan. who is the Lord's most ancient and faithful servant. So, we too know, to us, there is Seshavritti. That's a paramount importance. Whatever be the service we are asked to do, we do it happily. And Uma gave me the word, Attani Sevakam. I never knew that word, madam. Attani Sevakam. That is, Adisheshan stands for Attani Sevakam. What is Attani Sevakam? Service without a break. And session only to Narayana. Swamiji is here. Even without him, I would think of it. The way the devotees in Sripitam are performing Attani Sevakam. There is no break, whether it is Abhinavan sir or anybody else, Ramdas and so on. Attani Sevakam. There is no break. And service only to Sadguru. Service only to Narayana. Am I right, Professor Srikala? So,
very well.
Yes. I asked Uma to explain this famous song, the hymn by Poigi Alvar in Mudal Tiruvandadi about Adiseshan. Chendral Kodayam, Irundal Singhasanam, Nindral Maravadiyam, Nilkadalul, Yendrum Punayam, Mani Vilakam, Pumbattam, Pulgum Anayam, Thirumark Aravu. This has been translated by Hooper, J.S.M. Hooper, in his Hymns of Alvar. Professor Raghavan also mentions it. He says, he translates it as follows. If he refers to the Lord. If the Lord travels, an umbrella, okay, Adiseshan becomes an umbrella. If he sits, a throne. If he stands, sandals. Within the deep sea, always a raft, a jeweled lamp, fine silk, a couch for embraces. The snake will be for Tirmal. So, Chendral Kudayam. One minute, madam. Yes. So this is called Ananya Seshatvam, not subservient to anybody else. Stanza 4. The ocean-hued Lord Rama drove Ravana out of the battlefield, and later with one invincible sharp arrow aimed at Ravana, he made all the 10 heads fall. The Lord of Srirangam, where bees hum and melodiously sing, peacocks dance to celebrate Rama's victory, it's the same Lord who is just lying down there. So what is the focus in this stanza of the body part? It is the waistband of the Lord, Udara Bandham. The waistband of the Lord found on his beautiful belly just fills his heart. Udara Bandham, I asked Uma to explain this, Damodara Bandha Gatam, Thiruvaitru Udara Bandham. Thiru illada Vaishnava oru vaartha kuda solla maata. Ellam Thiru, okay. So I make fun of them sometimes. First, it is the first one to reveal the Damodaratva, which is a upayam for moksha. That is, Ashoda tied him with a rope to the varel. But he who is so free allowed himself to be tied, and now he has tied us all, okay, with his great love and compassion. So, in the fourth verse, Tirupannalvar gives expression to his ecstatic feelings of singing the glory of Lord Rama, the ocean-colored Lord, and the golden waistband of the Lord of Srirangam, and so on. Now we come to a very important stanza. All stanzas are important, maybe because of my kind of an interpretive prejudice, I weigh it as something more important. Stanza 5, I always think of Swamiji and my teacher. Bharamahiya Palavinai Patru Aruthu. Lord Ranganatha has cut asunder all Tirupannalvar's old heavy bundles of sin. Bharam. Bharam is something which is heavy, weight. Okay. Palavinai, our ancient karma, whatever our doings and undoings and so on. Okay. Patru, attachment. Aruthu is just sever it off. Okay. Therefore, Tirupannalvar says, he has made me his exclusive vassal, and then followed it up by entering into my heart. Therefore, he exclaims, what a wonder! What severe penance have I done to deserve it? Goramadhavam Seidile. Tirpanalvar feels the countless sins which were pressing him down are no more pressing him. It is God's grace that he has been taken into his fold as one of the chosen disciples. Dr. Venkatesh has very briefly and also profoundly commented on this stanza, philosophically and doctrinally, but humorously also. He says, this stanza refers to the sins of yore committed by not only Tirpanalvar, but all of us. Humorously, he says, even the Lord will feel its burden. Okay. Duchasanan vandu Draupadinude vastrate ilukka vandune irundhathu. So who was exhausted? Duchasana was exhausted. Similarly, humorously, he says, Bhagavanike vandu the weight தாங்க முடியாத போய்டும். அந்த அளவுக்கு we have just accumulated our karmas. But the Lord digs a hole deep, as if bringing down a big wall from the bottom. மேல தட்டி பிரயோஜனம் இல்லை. You must dig it from the bottom. Why? Because to remove the sins along with the vasana. This word vasana is very important doctrinally, philosophically, religiously, hymn-wise and so on. And Swami Nityanandagiri of Tapovan often used to talk to me about vasanas, latencies. So, Dr. Venkatesh says he does all that to root out every aspect of the basement, including our vasanas. Vasanas constitute our basement. So, vasanayodu en paabangal patru aruthu thalli. What's the result? He made me, why did he do it? His varam. Varam in Tamil, Dr. Shrikala, it means beloved. Varamakkina. Avanudiya anbu konda bhaktan. Okay, so his beloved, he made me his servant, his bhaktan, he entered into me. So the Vaishnava principle here is whoever God chooses alone receives his blessing. Sri Aurobindo wrote, he who chooses is already chosen. He who chooses is already chosen. Thus, Tirpanalvar says with great joy, Goramadam Seidilane, I did not do any Gora tapas to deserve it. And the Lord did the tapas for my sake and gave me the pala. In our culture, getting the palam is very, very important. Starting with the mundane thing, okay, that I should do my job today very well is the palam. But I've lost sight of that palam now, okay. So I'm trying to see what Tirpanalvar is describing, that palam. And as I said, the most important shift in identity, adiyen, from non to adiyen, from ego to the kind of surrendered self. Adiyen is a special term in Vaishnava devotional discourse. If Dr. S. Padmanabhan is there, I would like to mention this point. If you just call Professor Raghavan, he'll take the phone and say, Adiyen, naturally varum. And Uma always says, Adiyen, okay, extremely proud. I'm not humble. But Adiyen comes naturally to a true Vaishnava. Okay, and therefore, now comes the description of the Lord's chest. Anda thiru ara marbu adiyene aatkontadu. Anda thiru, that thiru is Goddess Lakshmi is there residing in the heart. Aram, it is garlanded. Marbu is the Lord's chest, broad chest. Adiyene aatkontadu. He made me the vassal. Therefore, adiyen, all of us should remember, it's a very important term, doctrinal term, both in devotional discourse as well as in philosophical discourse. A comparison is struck by alluding to Hanuman. Dr. Venkatesh pointed it out yesterday also. Every day he speaks about the Ayram Thirunamagal, 11 varshathukku pesa porar. Imagine, we should all live for 11 years to listen to all the 4,000 prabandhas. So last whole of 1 week, he was only talking about Amalanaadippiraan. So I gained many insights listening to him. So Hanuman first says to Sita, Nan. This is the Tamil, okay, Nan. Because he's only got Rama's Kataksham. Then when he goes to Ravana after meeting Sita, he introduces himself as Adiyen Ramadasan. Because he's got Sri Lakshmi's Kataksham also. So the emphasis on Sakuna Upasana, Uma asked me to just emphasize this. Subhashraya Tirumeni is very important for all worship, Sakuna Upasana. That is Lord's Divya Mangala Vigraha. I never used that word. Okay. The Lord's Divya Mangala Vigraha is Archa Tirumeni, Divya Mangala Vigraha. It is Subhashraya because it has the capacity to dispel sins. Goramadam Seidile. And confer auspiciousness. So this is the doctrine in the verse. Also, when the Lord takes Sankalpa to grace, he chooses the disciple. Therefore, everything is destroyed. Teenil Tusahum, that which falls into fire is destroyed. Now, Adiyan is subservient soul, without any ego, without any ahankaram, without any self-esteem. I must learn how to use that while I talk to people. And the focus of stanza 6 is the Lord's throat, kanta. The throat which consumed the entire universe in the days of yore. That throat, it showed me a miracle. Okay, that throat. The doctrine is Perumal, during the Pralaya, that is cosmic deluge, you see, he became a protector. The entire universe was kept within his, it went through the kanta, okay, the throat. And he is Paramparul, he is Sarvaseshi, he holds everybody, he is the Adharam. So, we come to stanza 7, full description of the Tirumeni of the Lord. Lord is described as Mayon. Mayon, Maruga. Mayon is a Tamil word, but elusive enchanter, that's the meaning. Wondrous Lord who holds in his hand Shankar and Chakram. His divine body, it is long like a Himalayas. Neel Vare, Tamil Neel Vare means long hill, mountain. His divine crown, which is also equally long, exudes the fragrance of Tulasi. All the holy things associated with the Lord are brought in. Tulasi, in abundance. Therefore, Tirpanarvar calls him M. Ayyanar. Ayyanar is Father, Savior. Accosts him as N. Ayyanar, reclining on the serpent Adisesha. Arangathu Aravadaya. Reclining on the serpent Adisesha. Dr. Venkatesh pointed out that of all the three postures, Nindra Kolam, Amarna Kolam, Kedanda Kolam of the Lord, the Kedanda Kolam, the recumbent posture, is more beautiful than anything else. Of course, it varies. In the Pasuram, it is the beauty of the Lord's coral lips which entices. Now, coral lips, it is not part of facial makeup and so on. But why is that mentioned? All Lakshanas, the doctrine is all Lakshanas of the Lord are divine. Shantakaram, Bhujagasayanam, Padmanabham, Suresham. That's the first thing that my teacher taught me. He knew I was a skeptic, but he didn't teach me. He said, just dwell on this and see how it helps you. Okay. So, the Lord alone is Sarvavida Bandhu. He is our friend in all situations. Rakshaka. He is a savior. Therefore, he is my Ayyanar. Classical Tamil word, not just physical beauty. So why coral lips? It is not just a physical beauty that captivates the mind and the desire self. All of us today suffer from the predominance of desire self. That's what contemporary psychology tells us. But here, the poet, you see, the hymnalist says, it is not the physical beauty, but the beauty that inheres in that physical form, the spiritual beauty. That is why Seyyavai. Seyyavai is Sivanda, red mouth, Kavarndana, enraptured me. Stanza 8, the supreme being, the foremost creator, took incarnation as Narasimha. He tore into shreds the gigantic Hiranyakasipu and so on. Lord Ranganatha, why does he bring in Hiranyakasipu here? Lord Ranganatha's eyes are utterly black, broad and extend to the sides. Now we come to the eyes. Parta Poran. Okay, the eyes. Everybody who goes to Srirangam is asked to look at the broad eyes of the Lord. It is black, broad, extend to the sides. And then the poet says, the eyes glitter. A skeptic may wonder, how can a stone statue, okay, glitter? But it is Archa Tirumeni. And therefore, glitter with red streaks running across, and it is very lengthy. And Tirpanarvar says, these eyes have bewitched me. I am stupefied. So from coral lips to the eyes, these eyes have bewitched me. And therefore, towards the end, it is a focus. Okay. Chandogya Upanishad also talks about the Lord's eyes. In the Ramanuja lore, you will see how Ramanuja contested the interpretation that Yadava gave, and then he gave an alternative expression. And one more thing I remember now, Ramanuja had different kinds of disciples. Okay. And there was a non-Brahmin disciple whose wife was very beautiful, Ponnachi. And she was so beautiful that the husband didn't want the son to sully her fairness and so on. So he always used to carry an umbrella to protect her. And while Ramanuja was walking in the streets, he saw this and then he asked him, why are you doing it? Because he says, my wife's eyes are so beautiful. Then Ramanuja takes him to inside the temple. Do you want to see anything which is more beautiful, as beautiful and also more beautiful than your wife's eyes? Yes, he says. He shows him that. After that, there's a kind of a total transformation. That is why the eyes are very important. So even in hagiography, you have that great doctrinal idea. So the eyes, thinking of Hiranyakasipu, the eyes become ferocious towards Hiranya, but gentle towards the Bhakta, Prahalada. So both qualities are there. The eyes being welcome. Amararku Ariyavan, Bhaktarhalku Ariyavan, even celestials cannot get him that easily. But to me, he has come so simply. So he protects you. Before danger comes, he protects you. The Lord's eyes are described, as I told you, Milir Hiradu. So Milir Hiradu means it's not just statue. It shows movement. The poet uses the word to show that there is love. The eye beckons you. It has the capacity to heal and cure. Stanza 9. We come to the babe on the Alama leaf. That is, babe on the banyan leaf. Alama is banyan. Here, the divine body of the Lord has captivated my mind. The ornaments adorned by the Lord have enhanced their luster and splendor only because of the contact with Tirumeni. The Lord is enjoyed here as a child, babe on a banyan leaf, floating on a great ocean during the Pralaya, the cosmic deluge. All cosmos lie dormant in the Lord's stomach. In terms of the doctrine, he is the supreme Lord, he is Jagannatha, and he is the supreme cause, Jagat Karana, as seen when he lies as a babe with all cosmos inside him. Again, the Lord is protected during Pralaya. Even as a Balakan, child non-peril, he was protecting the universe. That child exchanged the bed now for Adiseshan here, Arangathu Aravanayan. So his Karunatvam, his Rakshana, his compassion and protectiveness now shine in the Lord as they did in the babe on a banyan leaf. His blue complexion, his beauty, makes Tirupannalvar exclaim, Ayyo, Ayyo. Such words are there. Ayyo is this Neela Meni makes him exclaim. It's an emotional exclamation. All universe inside the stomach, and yet the leaf is afloat. It does not sink because he is the Sarvadara. He is the holder of everything. Hence, the leaves stuck to the Lord's body. The Lord's is my own, as I told you. This, how is it possible? Uma explained it to me. The Lord's form is Agadita Gatana Samarthyam. It's a form of Agadita Gatana Samarthyam. The appellation can be interpreted as to make the impossible possible. Therefore, it is demonstrated here. Now, my own is, it tells you something about the Purnatvam of the Lord. That is why Neelameni Ayyo Purnatvam, which is described in the Vedas and Upanishads also. That is why Mayon, the Alvars were fond of using the term addressing Krishna as Mayon, the elusive Lord. Mayon does not mean an illusion is obscured by Maya, but is an elusive enchanter. Mayon, sporting with the soul and making us into his own image, says P. N. Srinivasacharya. V. Rajagopal renders the word Mayon into English as the wondrous Lord, infinitely sporting, quoting Svetavastara Upanishad. Last stanza. Venne Undavayan, he said, Swamiji liked that very much, he said. Here, Kondal Vannan, the black-hued, cloud-colored Lord, is various epithets. He's Kovalan, he's king, he's the overlord of the whole world. He's the same Lord who came as Gopala and ate butter, okay, with a mouth. So this Lord has stolen both my mind and my heart. That is why in Hindi, North they call him Chori. Am I right? Krishna is Chori. He stole both my mind and heart. He is my immortal nectar. Now comes a very important idea. Those eyes which have beheld the nectar in the form. Can you behold the nectar? You can only taste the nectar. But he says, those eyes which have beheld the nectar in the form of Lord Ranganatha shall never see anything else. So, in terms of Tatparyam, we'll first take up the Lord and the cloud. Okay? Neela Megham, Neela Vanna. The Lord's grace extends to all people, irrespective of color, caste, creed, sex. No discrimination. Just as showers of rain, monsoon rain, it rains on all. That is why Ramanuja, one book was written, Karai Karunai Ramanuja. He is like a monsoon cloud. Karai Karunai Ramanuja. Compassion incarnate. Also, the very sight of rain-bearing cloud brings us relief. Of course, Wayanad people will not say that, but if you're in a drought situation, you can understand that. So Lord's Tirumeni, the Divya Vigraha, creates that impact. Now come to the nectar. I mentioned it already. Nectar is personified to be tasted by the mouth and devoured by the eye. So, seeing to tasting, tasting to seeing. Kanda Kangal. Everybody has sung about this. Kanda Kangal. Those alone can be termed as eyes which have seen and worshipped the Lord. Eyes which see does not see mundane objects. In romantic poetry, we have the famous idea, eyes that see not and ears that hear not. We have eyes, but we don't see what we must see. We have ears, but we don't hear what we must hear. That is why Kanda Kangal, Ilagovadigal, who is not a Hindu, but he wrote the Chilapathikaram. He wrote, Kariyavanai Kanada Kannenna Kanne. Kantirundu Parpargal Kannenna Kanne. Okay, if you don't look at this dark Lord, what is the use of your having eyes? Kantirundu. And if you wink and look at or turn your eye here and there, what is the use of that eye, pair of eyes? So, doctrine-wise, the important aspect here is the purpose of sense organs, whether it is mouth or eyes, whatever it is, the purpose of sense organ is to worship Him. The vision of the Lord is so powerful. Eyes which have drunk His beauty will not wander off to any transient objects on earth. Hence the beauty of the phrase, Kanda Kangal. Ayyo, once again, Ayyo. Ayyo, as Dr. Venkatesh points out, does not connote Amangalam. You have denotation of the word and you have connotation of the word. It is not an Amangalam, word of Amangalam, but a word of Mangalam, because there is a Manasika Anubhavam. He has entered there in the Garbhagriha, and the Lord who is supreme, He is Kon, He is Perumal, He is Krishna, He is King, but He is inside there. He is under Kon. He has entered and hid Himself in the Garbhagriha. Parasara Bhatta says, He stole my mind from the pot, en ullathai kavarndavan. Under, who are the unders? The Chetanargal. He is Amudam, he is nectar. I have seen Him. I don't look at anything else. The Jivatma doesn't want to look at any ordinary object. That is why Dr. Venkatesh says, En Swarupananam Aliyadabadi Ennul Pugundan. Lest I forget my Swarupanyanam, He entered into me. Please note here, not that Tirupanalvar merged with the Lord, but the Lord entered into the devotee. So, substantiating the poem, I'll take just 3 more minutes. The Alvar sang the poem, says Professor Raghavan, in 10 verses, which contains a description of the Lord as He enjoyed Him in great ecstasy. Verses 1 to 9, the Lord's enchanting archa form is described limb by limb. That is the lotus feet, the raiment, the navel, the waistband, the chest, the throat, the red mouth, the coral lips, the eyes, and the whole frame, archa form. In the concluding verse 10, the Alvar says that the eyes which have enjoyed the nectar and vision of the Lord, He'll never see anything else. I'm not competent, but I must refer to Vedanta Deshika's appraisal of the hymn. In one verse, he says, we have become rid of our sins and blemishes after knowing the essential nature of Lord Sri Krishna, whose nature consists in His supremacy. He's the ruler, He's the controller. This is the true purport of the hymn of Pan Perumal. He calls him Pan Perumal, who succinctly in 10 verses brought out the important teachings of the Vedas in Tamil. And Vedanta Desika says both the Veda and the Vedanta are just the essence of them are there, squeezed into this hymn, and therefore we should read devoutly this hymn, understand the merit, and explain the same. And this stands as a unique poem for all those who want to do pravachana, explanatory discourses on the Vedas or Vedanta. Thank you very much, Professor Srikala. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, Madam. Sorry if I have taken more time.
Thank you very much, Professor Indra, for that beautiful exposition of the text, and we truly appreciate the vigor with which you presented the text. May I now request Professor Srikala Nair to give her initial comments on the presentation and also to moderate the discussion.
Thank you very much, Madam. I was engrossed. I did not know whether I will succeed in summing up. We don't have to sum up, because she wasn't speaking about a theory. She was doing a very, very hard task of, the exclamations in Ayo. There lies everything. It is something like, as she said, it is Amangalam. We say that Ayo is Amangalam. We are not supposed to. But when a poet says, we can feel that he is trying to put in things which he is feeling or he is seeing. The immediate awareness is, Chandra would say, the Aparokshanubhuti. So, Tirupanalvar, born in the fifth caste, the creed, being taken by Munivahana Bhogam, taken by Lokasaranga Muni inside, and there he sees Lord. And then in the 10 pasadums, you have the beautiful description of Lord as Kalyana Guna, Sulabha. The Saulabhya is a very, very significant thing in Vishishtadvaitam, as you know. He is available because he has no other business other than attending to his devotees. That Saulabhya factor has been. Remember, he is not a scholar. So, when a scholarly presentation has been made, we will remember, oh, all these are, the principles, so we'll have to put them in order. But these come automatically for him as the exclamation, Ayo, came from him. And so, as she has beautifully said, several resonance of Vishnu Sahasranamam also comes in here. And what more than Deshikas himself has commented on this. That itself speaks volumes on how significant these 10 poems are, where she spoke about from the lotus feet, traveling through the beautiful garment, over to the navel, to the chest, and to his lower lips, to the eyes filled with nectar, and all these beautiful imageries, and then the crown, and then the beautiful statement that what has seen him will not fetch anything more in the physical experience, which is something very often we come across with these stick signs. So thank you very much for this. And my own, there is several elusive enchanter. There are several things which make us stay, again and again, one single passage to go repeatedly to him. But she has, managed to go through all the 10, appreciate that, and to have, all of you, I'm sure, would have had a very beautiful textual experience of this wonderful work. I'm indeed grateful. So we can have a quick discussion. May I invite Swamiji to initiate? Unmute yourself, Swamiji.
It's very nice description of Perumal and full of devotion and thought. And you very well explained it for us because you're also a devotee of Perumal, so you were able to do it. We're looking forward, Srikala, to more talks like this. And when is the next one? Next month?
Swamiji, sometime next month, probably. Dr. Sukanya has agreed to speak.
Oh.
And we haven't fixed the date, but soon. I mean, We will have it probably on every third week, and we will move this way, that way, according to the convenience of the speaker. But we will not, getting people like Professor Indra is hard, but we will try to manage with the best, as she herself has said, quoting Tirupana Alvar, if Lord decides what is not possible. So the impossibilities are made possible with His intervention. And as I've told you that I speak in Adikeshav Perumal's kingdom, one of the desham which has been recognized as celebrated for the Sri Vaishnavites. So sitting here, I think that Lord Adikeshava Perumal, and there was also a reference, I forget, about the early deity, which in some way fits Adikeshava Perumal as well. So now I'll not take much time. Are there any questions? Or it is not a theory where you can ask questions, but you can add up, you can append, comment. Yes, you are all welcome. Please raise your hand. What I mean is by press the hand button so that I can call you up. Yes, Rajaji? Yeah.
First, big humble prayers to Adikeshava Perumal. Okay, this Vaishnava thing, only by, as Indra Madam said, I am only by God's grace and right, Adiyen Dasan, I should be blessed to tell that umpteen times. And there are very clear things to say why this is. Mukundamala 27th sloka, in which it says, Britya Brityasya Britya Mam iti smara lokanatha. 7th Britya, he says. 7th. Here, few things I just wanted to express. This Adiyen Dasan is something we should all be proud to say. And it's not to be taken in the English meaning as servant. No. Okay. Will we be hesitant to say that to our parents? I will be a humble servant to my parents. So that is the notion of Vaishnava Sampradaya. So to tell as Adiyen Dasan means it's a blessing of God to get that attitude. So really it's God's blessing today to be in Tiruvatta, and where you have the Kulashekara Perumal, Kulashekara Alvar Sannadhi also is here. So with all this, and then as Madam was telling about, it's such a pleasure to listen to Amalanaadippiraan. And I was telling Srikala Madam about Dr. Venkatesh's explanation. From that point, I just thought of adding few things more about Amalanaadippiraan, all through Dr. Venkatesh's thing. He says importance of this. See, we don't have time nowadays. Today, we are all pressed for time. We don't have time to read everything. But the whole, even Tirupavai, Veda Vitt, in that it says. So like that, this is a concise or a summary of the whole Vedas in 10 slokas. So we cannot say we are pressed for time. So that is one of the things. And then whole Saram has come in this. The first 3 slokas have the Ahu, that is Om. Pranava's explanation is the first 3 beginning words of the first 3 slokas. So because that is entirety. And then the whole condensed form. And another thing is Archavataram. There are Paravyuha, Vaibhava, Antaryami, Archavataram. So those are the 5 forms explained in Vaishnava Sampradaya. So in that, Antaryami, even though we all know, but even that there is clear evidence in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that says why we are not aware of our Antaryami. So I will not go into all those things. But there is very clear evidence for that in Antaryami Brahmyam of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So we don't get that. But We are all blessed by God. Like same first shloka of Narayanyam. Is what it says. This bhagyam, what a gift have human beings made, that they can see the Lord as an archavataram. Oh, bhagyam jananam. So that what does it say? So we are blessed to be a human being to see that archavataram. So every archavataram is nothing but God in his form. So with that attitude, if we all start seeing, God is always there to help us. God is our own Father. He is none other than my own dad who has brought me here. So it's a pleasure. I've always been telling, requesting Srikala Madam about some Vishishtadvaitam, and with the grace of Adikeshwar Perumal, she has brought me to the thing. A humble thank you to the whole forum, and very, very excellent presentation. And Amalanaadippiraan is one of my favorite, so which was taught to me by my dad. So a big thank you. Thank you to God and to Srikala Madam for bringing me into this forum.
Oh, thank you for that, Radhaji. Ma'am, would you like to comment? Indra ma'am?
Pardon me?
On what she has, I mean, it's just a comment. Would you like to comment on anything, what she has said?
Yes, Madam, I was very much not impressed. I was greatly enlightened listening to Dr. V. Venkatesh. Okay, and therefore I tried as much, given the time of 45 to 15 minutes. The Kulasekara Alvar thing was also there, but then I took up certain things which would be useful here or manageable within time. One was, of course, that IO. Okay, Mangalam. The other thing is the crypticness of that. Other people would have made it very, very tough and erudite and so on. But there is a kind of not only proximus, you become one with that sense of oneness, and then the my own aspect. And then he was also very witty, very humorous and so on, Dr. Venkatesh. And all of last week, Dr. Srikala, he was only discussing this poem. And so I took that point about a recumbent, Nindra column, Kedanda column is more beautiful. He explained it there, not in that YouTube, maybe I missed it. But here he made it very clear. Of course, certain things appeal to you. When all is said and done, I am not a very pious person, but religion is a matter of sensibility. Okay, what appealed to my mother did not appeal to me. What appealed to me may not have appealed to her. Another thing I understood from this poem, you see, that human mind, especially the Hindu mind, Indian mind, it sees a kind of congruity or puts all the great souls and saints in the same axis. I have written down, but I eschewed it. Because that is why you are Rama, you are Krishna, okay? You are, what shall I say, Mahabali's vanquisher, and so on. So, Tiruvikrama, and so on. So, I was reminded of a couple of things. One is the Benedictine monk, Henry Le Sol, who wrote a book, The Guru and the Disciple of Swami Jnanananda of Tapovanam. There he asked to see, are you Ramana? Are you Shiva? Are you Lord? See, you don't, at that point, all distinctions dissolve. That's Parama Seshi, Parama Porul Solrola, Param Porul, he Sarvadara. Okay, Empedocles said, give me a place, tell me what holds, then I can explain the whole thing. You remember Empedocles' challenge to, or at least prayer and so on. So he is the Adhara. That kind of thing is very important for Vaishnavas. But the Hindu mind or Indian mind or mystical mind tries to put all these things in the same axis. And that axis is something so very wonderful. That is why Sadhguru always said, Swamiji also begins Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. So that kind of thing. Another thing I said, how the form, Archa form, I come from Chidambaram. As I wrote in my little book about my mother, on one side, you have Lord Govindaraja, okay, in a recumbent pose. And on the other side, you have Lord Nataraja in a dynamic pose. I have been born and brought up. I am Chidambaram, Tatachari, Indra. Okay. And my grandfather, we are Vadakalai Vaishnavas, he was greatly responsible for helping the temple Dikshitas, to continuously get that kind of secure that position. And when you go, so our family always had a great kind of honor from the temple. Nataraja temple. I'm not talking about the Govindaraja temple, because our family made that kind of great kind of oneness. As my mother, no, she feasted on the dual aspects, the stasis and the dynamics. That is why when we left our 10-ground house, she was not unhappy that she left, like Tirupannalvar, she left her wealth and property. But she could not feast on this form, the form that Tirupannalvar feasted on in Srirangam. I do not know much about Srirangam. But when you stand there, during the morning puja, the great image of Nataraja, his calm face and the dancing feet, okay, and the entire cosmos there. And here is Govindaraja, just Shantakaram Bhujagasayanam. And after all, this is something that I understand, though I may not be a very religious, pious person. So my mother lived it out. So when she came here, she never forced me to believe anything. And she was greatly fond of Shankara, Bhajagovindam, everything, all the hagiographies. So my interest in hagiography came up because of my mother. She continuously read hagiographies both in Tamil and English. And he read about the Alva, so many things and so on. And then contemporary understandings, not merely as a kind of, Perungayam, Dabala, Chamadri, Inniki adu namakku eppadi upayogapadum. Okay, in what way can you draw from it? That is why it is so very interesting. So Bhagavad Gita, whatever it is. So that Archa form, she was, so many Archas. So when I cleaned up this house, it was so very difficult to throw away all the Archa forms, because you have invested so much of piety and devotion. But as one coming from Chidambaram, I can understand, not only that, I have lived it out. And I inherited it from my mother. So hagiography, since you asked me this question, my initial interest was people in Manikarnika got asking the Chandala to go away, or whether it's Shankara who asked him to go away. And Chandala asking, you see, which do you want me to move, whether in my body or my soul? And he realizes that, as Swamiji alone said, even those who attain that kind of oneness of reality, their consciousness may occasionally calm down. Then Shankara realizes, why? Even if it is a Chandala, he is my guru. I saw, when I read about Amalanaadippiraan, the Lokasaranga Muni says, Naundupo. Don't blame them. It is there. And then he is lost in a kind of ecstasy, and therefore, when he is hit there, he is bleeding, but he's not aware of it. But in the final analysis, what happened? I read Swami Ranganatha, whom I adore, whether it is commentary on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad or all Bhagavad Gita or anything, he is one person whom I revere, the greatest person that the Ramakrishna order has produced. Okay, greatest spokesperson and commentator. And he says in his this particular thing, about Manisha Panchakam and so on, he says at the end of it, it's not as though the Chandala becomes Shiva. Okay, he remains there. Whereas when I listen to Paramatmananda, when I read editions and everything, he turns into Shiva and Parvati and so on. But in Tirupannalvar, the Lord takes him as he is. And that is something that struck me from my early years. Last 10 years, I've been very much wanting to look at it. I'm not saying that the quality of the realization is there. I've written what shall I say, in a very dispassionate manner, in a balanced manner. I'm not going to read it out to you. But this is something one day or other I will write. Thank you very much. Thank you for the honor. Thank you, Swamiji. And thank you, Mr. Padmanabhan. And thank you, Madam. Thank you for your comments.
Oh, lovely. Are there any further comments or questions? If not, then a small query from my side, ma'am.
Yes.
That you did speak about, the feminine aspect which you commonly see among all mystic saints, particularly, and those who subscribe to Bhakti cult.
No.
Pan-Indian, that is pan-Indian, and you did quote about And for women, it is natural. For men, they inculcate, and we have heard that several people like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and all that.
Nammalvar simulated himself as a Nayaki Bhava.
So this aspect was a very prominent in Tirupanalvar, the feminine aspect. As you have read the 10 positives, we don't hear, a conscious effort or being converted to the feminine is not being visible.
No. I think it is not a gendered kind of submission. Okay, because it is not gendered or anything. I brought it out to show how the created world, entire world is das in that sense. Meera says that. So you cannot enter the ashrams, Meera is told. And Meera says, no, females cannot enter. That is a social aspect. So social process is something that I'm interested also.
All right. So it is more of, being part of the Tandrakulam, the Adiyan aspect.
Tandrakulam could be anything. For instance, if you look at Guru Parampara, Ramananda had so many kinds of women as his disciples. He initiated them. He just simply, it is not just a kind of democratizing spirituality. He respected them. Okay? And they were given, each one, and they were all aspirants. It's not as though that they say, ladies in joint Bandatonilla. Our Swamiji never has that kind of attitude towards anybody. Okay, I'm not saying it's a gendered poem, but at that level, gender also disappears. I brought in Meera only to show that there is that kind of thing.
Lovely. Lovely. I presume that I don't see any more hands. So thank you very much on my side, and may I invite Ms. Ramya to deliver the photo stands. Over to you.
Ma'am, as we have come to the close of this session, it's my honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing team. First and foremost,
has Mr. Padmanabhan anything to say?
No, ma'am, nothing. Thank you. Very nice.
No. I thought in case you had a comment. Thank you. Sorry, madam.
I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Srimati Lalita for agreeing to inaugurate this forum for Lalita Online Forum for Vaishnava Textual Studies. We are extremely grateful to you, ma'am, for your words of wisdom and also for bringing this grace to this occasion. I would now also like to thank Professor C T Indra for her engaging lecture, which has indeed helped in creating a deep understanding on such a profound subject. We are truly grateful to you, dear ma'am. It's my honor to thank Swamiji, the founder of Shimoy Foundation, for his blessings on this auspicious day, and your vision and guidance is an asset for this organization. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for doing that. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Professor Shikla Nair for presiding over today's session. This forum was born out of her vision, and Professor Shikla Nair and her continuous efforts towards its fruition is something which requires immense admiration. Thank you very much, dear ma'am, for giving this to us. Let me also thank Sri K. Padmanabhan from Sri Vaishnava Foundation for his words of welcome and also for his support to this forum. Thank you very much, sir. Now, to all the participants, attendees, senior professors, scholars who are present here, thank you all for your active engagement and thoughtful discussion. We are truly grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you all once again, and we look forward to your continued participation in our future programs. Thank you all.
All the best, Professor Shekala.
Thank you very much. So please await for the next announcement. Okay. And we wish that since it is a serious forum, the participation is selective. If you want to invite anyone, please communicate to us. We will send the invite to others, and then they can join. Sure. And of course, you can share the flyers if you're confident that they are solid. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, pranams.
Pranams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Padmanabhan.
Pranam, Swamiji.
Pranam.
Thank you, Indra ma'am. Thank you, Shikla ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ramya.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.